Today, my dear sewing friends, I invite you to make joggers together with me and possibly a matching t-shirt, but joggers is the primary goal for today. So I'm thinking about this and I want to draft joggers for a few reasons. Number one, I think they're a little bit more convenient than sweatpants because with sweatpants, when you look at them, they look like sweatpants. But with joggers, I feel that if you use different textures of fabrics and different kind of fabrics that have a slightly dressier look to them, you can actually get away with wearing joggers in a variety of different life situations. And I'm not saying that they're gonna look dressy, but they could look presentable. So you can wear them both in and out and for athleisure and not for athleisure purposes. So I definitely want to save this pattern for future reference as well. I want them to be quite fitted in the knee and quite fitted in the ankle. Maybe not as much in the knee, but in the ankle for sure. And then I want a little bit of extra room in my hips, upper hips, maybe around the waist, just because I also want two front pockets there as well. So that's kind of the direction of the thought of where I'm going. So let's get started. So I gotta grab my big old binder. I'm gonna take this template that we have created from the last time we were drafting very basic sweatpants and just a grid for the pants. And this grid already has my waist, my hips, my crotch, my knee, and the total length of the pants as well from waist down. So this is a very useful thing to have so that way you don't have to remeasure yourself and you don't have to redraft it time and time again. And the width of this grid is 1/4 of my hip circumference. So that way you already know that as well. So if you haven't made that and you want to attempt doing a ton of different options of pants, this is a really great thing to get started with. I'm gonna copy mine first. Oops, there we go. All right, I'm gonna get started with the front pattern piece first. I'm gonna grab my pencil because, well, because I tend to change my mind sometimes. So pencil first, and then I'm going to outline it for you guys. And I'm going to start with my crotch extension first. So this is the crotch line. And I'm going to take 1/4 of a quarter of my hip circumference. So this line right over here, because the whole width of this template is 1/4 of my hip circumference. So 1/4 of this length minus 1.5 centimeters. Now, in case you're wondering why all of a sudden I'm doing centimeters in my videos and not inches, I actually tend to go back and forth. I was raised and I was taught on centimeters, so it is a lot easier for me to work in centimeters, but I do currently live in the United States, so inches is what people use here. So I use both, but in centimeters, it's a lot easier to do more precise pattern drafting, and it's so much easier to do math as well. So if you haven't tried, centimeters is like the best way to go. What I also want to do is I want to add about 1 inch to this crotch hip area, just because I want some extra room in this area. I don't want extra room pretty much anywhere else, but I do want some extra room because I also want a pocket. I also don't want my pants to be waist high. I actually want them to be quite lower, so I'm just gonna go ahead and lower it by 3 inches. So 3 inches down. There we go. And I also know that my upper hip, kind of this area, is about 21 centimeters wide. That's a quarter measurement. So 21, let's make it, I don't know, 20, let's make it 23. There we go. I'm gonna lower this down by about, let's say, can do about 1/2 inch. Because our front is a little bit lower than our back. Right over here, if you're having a little bit of a hard time drawing this curve at a 45-degree angle, this is just about 1 inch right over here. So from here to here, this is just about 1 inch, and then it's a little bit easier to do this curve. But this curve is going to largely depend on you and your body, because I know that a lot of times I actually have to scoop it out a little bit more. Otherwise, it gives me a really ugly fit in my crotch area. So really, you know, this is all very individual, and of course this is just a guide. So I have attached the second half of the pattern paper so that way we can draft the whole front leg. All right, so what I have decided here is that at my knee mark, so this is my knee mark right over here, I want that measurement to be, let me tell you right now, so I want my full circumference to be about 18 inches. So half of it is going to be about 9 inches, right? So 9 inches over here, I'm gonna divide in half equally on each side of my leg. And the way I find this middle line right over here, it is from this point right over here, from one side of your pattern, all the way to the crotch extension right over here, and then you divide it in half, you find the middle of it, and that is going to be your grain line, and that is going to be the center of your pant leg. All right, so here, this is going to be the width of the front pant leg right over here. And now I just have to really nicely connect everything else. And because this is going to be a jogger pant, I don't really have to be super precise. And of course, we can always alter it a little bit later as well. So just definitely have fun with it. I think a lot of times when we overthink things, that's when it becomes a little bit less fun, a little bit more like a burden, and then we overthink things and we forget that sometimes we just have to try. Sometimes we just have to give it a go and see how it turns out, and we can always adjust it, because at the end of the day, it is just fabric. And of course, I cannot leave it like this. This is going to give me a little bit of an ugly result. So here I might curve it in nicely. So that way we get a really nice curved line. So that way it looks really good. And then on the bottom, I decided that I want this to be 12 inches wide altogether, so front and back. So if I divide it in half, it's going to be 6 inches. So 3 inches on each side. There we go. And now I just have to connect the knee to the bottom. And of course, I think I'm also gonna go for the cuffs on the bottom of my jogger pants as well. So I probably will need to subtract something from the length of my pants, but I haven't decided how much yet. So I will think about that in a second. Take about ½ an inch to the inside just to give this curve a little bit more definition right over here. But you don't have to do that, and in fact sometimes it is better if you don't do that, but again, it all depends on you and how things fit on your body. The front pattern piece is ready. Just don't forget to mark your grain line that we discussed earlier, and of course the direction of the stretch as well. But also, if you modify this and add a little bit more ease for woven fabrics, you can also then use it for woven fabrics as well. And now I'm gonna go ahead and copy this, and we're gonna change a couple of things, and we're gonna make the back pattern piece. And from there, onto the sewing. I've copied over some of the details. So I've copied over these two lines, which one is for the hip line, this one is the crotch line. I didn't copy the crotch because for the back it's going to be a little bit longer. You can see I've started right over here. I did copy the side seam and this straight line right over here, which was 3 inches down from our waistline. So just a straight line over here. And one of the reasons why the back crotch is longer, and we're also going to raise it a little bit as well, is because, well, we have butts. Some of us have more, some of us have less. I'm kind of in the middle, but we all have butts. And usually our butt is a little bit larger than our front. And that's one of the reasons why we have to adjust this area. So this was my original crotch for the front, right? Which was 1/4 of this measurement minus 1.5 centimeters. Now for the back crotch, what I'm going to do is I'm gonna take the front crotch, mark it, and then plus 4.5 centimeters. Now what we're going to do is we are going to make a curve, but over here I'm also gonna take about 1 centimeter to the side, about 1/2 inch, just like we did right over here. It's totally fine. And I'm actually going to raise it by, I would say, let's do 2.5 inches. Sometimes you can do just 1 inch. There we go, like so. And now we're going to connect this. And then I'm also gonna drop the back crotch a little bit lower as well, so that way we can actually match the inseams as well. All right, so here we are going to connect this with a straight line. Over here, straighten out a little bit, so that way once you sew it all together, it doesn't give you a sharp corner. There we go, and over here. So that way the side seams are matching perfectly, but the back seam, of course, is going to be a little bit raised, so that way once you're sitting down, the back doesn't pull down dramatically and your butt isn't, out there, so that way you're comfortable and everything is all right. So here, let's do 1/2 inch. We can do 1/2 inch. I'm gonna go ahead, lower it down. Like so. I'm just gonna go ahead and copy the leg part, and over here let's just go ahead and mark the middle of it. 14, 7 right over here. All right, so this is my knee line right over here, as you can see. There we go, I'm gonna mark it a little bit better. And this is the center of my pant. There we go. And my front leg was 9 inches wide, which was 4.5 inches on each side. So I'm gonna mark it right over here. And I'm going to mark it right over here. So now, this was the line from the front pattern piece, but of course we need to do that now for the back pattern piece. There we go. So let's go ahead and take that. Take that. Awesome. I'm going to erase this one so that way it doesn't confuse you. You can do that with a straight line and then curve it in a little bit, so that way it gives you a really nice smooth result. There we go. And of course we're going to do the same for the bottom of the pants as well. Sometimes the front leg and the back leg are also a little bit wider than the other, but in this case I'm just going to go ahead and make them the same. There we go. Now the last thing that we need to do is we actually need to take our front pattern piece and we need to make sure that this part from the knee all the way up to the crotch is equal in length. And sometimes you can also ease it in, which is not a problem at all. So you just kind of align it. It doesn't have to match in shape, but it has to match in length. So mine is a little bit, I'm just gonna raise it up just a tiny bit more. There we go. And when you're making dress pants, there is another technique for it, so it just really depends. So many ways how to get this or that done in sewing, for sure. And of course with that you also want to make sure that the length of your side seam matches as well. But that said, let me go ahead and outline this so that we can see a little bit better. and then we can get started with sewing. I will be doing pockets for my pattern though. And you know, I gotta say that I know that I sound like a broken record when I repeat this video after video, but as always, all of the additional information is going to be in the info box below of this video. So how to draft pockets for pants like this in the info box below, how to draft cuffs in the info box below, how to draft a waistband for this type of pants in the info box below as well. And I say that a lot, but I truly have a ton of resources on my channel, and people still ask me in comments below, like, do you have a video about this, or do you have a video about that? So definitely, if you ever wonder, oh, do you have a video about this, don't hesitate to go to my channel. You can check out a ton of videos for a ton of different topics around sewing, and of course some really beautiful garments that you can draft as well, because who knows, maybe you have missed a video or two, and that way you can catch up. Now, once I'm done, what I like to do, of course, if this is a new style or something that you've never tried before, a test garment definitely is a great way to go about it. Of course, don't forget to add your seam allowances, as I add mine when I cut the fabric. Now, if you are a member of this channel, first of all, thank you so much. And as a big thank you for being a member, you will find members extra video with extra information for these pants and instruction sheets for this and many other projects. So definitely check your members perks, membership tab, and community tab on my channel. Now, fabric wise, I'm working here with this really nice double brushed polyester knit. It has that really great weight to it and a super soft texture, and I got it at Joann's and I still have it. So if you really love this print, head to Joann's and get it. And I'm planning to make these pants and a t-shirt to go with it. Normally, I need to say this, I'm not for matchy-matchy outfits, but this time, why not? Now, the pattern for the t-shirt is the same that we just made together in a previous video, and I will leave the link for it in the info box below. Super easy, you will love it. It's kind of like copying your own t-shirt. Now, since I'm trying to cut both patterns at the same time, I will probably need to play Tetris with the pattern placement so I can fit everything. So I'm actually using the living room floor to lay the whole fabric flat. So not on a fold, but flat. And as a result, everybody came to help. My child, the cat. I'm surprised my husband did not play a prank on me. It was still light outside when I was cutting the fabric. And by the time I actually had the chance to sit down and sew it, it certainly wasn't. And I completed the pants entirely on a serger, and this time, unlike with a neoprene jacket, no drama. Smooth sailing. And of course, you don't have to use a serger. Sewing machine and a zigzag stitch will do just great. Now for the t-shirt though, I used a combination of a serger and a cover stitch. And here's the final result. I think there can be so many awesome options for this design. So for me, it's definitely a keeper. Now, what do you think? Let me know in the comments below, and thank you so much for watching. I will see you soon next Friday. Until the next video, happy, thoughtful sewing, and I cannot wait to see what you guys make with your own patterns. All right, see you soon. Bye!